Hi there, and welcome to a new series for the new year. In these short build series, I plan to share my thoughts as I build towards goals for each settlement. I have a fairly rough idea of how I want to design a central gardens, but aside from that, I will be building this settlement on the fly. While choosing a location for the town center, I am considering how much relatively flat terrain I can take advantage of, as well as making a rough mental note of the locations of various resources. I pause game time here to place some early structures. This is actually my third run at the build. In the previous attempts, I discovered that measuring a distance from the town center with a crop field made the most sense. So here I am counting out cells, while referencing my sketch of the central gardens. With the reference field in place, I now focus on a forager's shack and firewood splitter, before unpausing the game. Although buildings like the forager's shack have movable work areas, I like to place some of these structures at the location of relevant resources. This way, especially in the early game, if I forget about a building's construction, it will still be generating its relevant resource. Now the firewood splitter. As this building affects shelters in a negative way, I am choosing to place it quite a distance from my intended housing area. I may decide to relocate this, and other industrial buildings, later in the build. For now, I quite like the dense tree cover, as an area for some industrial buildings. Here I am using the harvesting tool, with berries deselected, to provide my settlers with enough building resources to get started. Knowing that I will be building a central gardens around my town center, it is also preempting that part of the development. Next up is a well. This will eventually be relocated, but I still reference my plan and count out some cells, before placing it in line, and nearby my intended housing plots. With some essential structures in the build queue, it is time to let these settlers get to work. I have increased the game's speed to its highest, and will be speeding up the footage during transitional phases. Now construction of the firewood splitter is complete. I choose to give the building some production limits. The production limits are great for managing resources and workforce, but forgetting to make adjustments as the population grows can cause supply issues. Noticing that my foraging shack has revealed a hunting node, I now have a target for a hunting cabin. I decide this top corner will be more focused on gathering food, and place the cabin adjacent to the forager's shack. A smokehouse will help preserve the meat my hunters gather. Although this building has a negative desirability, I place it nearby my intended housing plots, close to the well, to help put out any unwanted fires, and also close to the hunting cabin. I like the thought of this part of the settlement being a little production-oriented, as well as the smells of smoked meat filling the air in this part of town. Continuing the theme of a more production and services-oriented area, I decide this will be a good place for a stockyard. Eventually I can see this area being a more developed red brick zone, geared toward commerce. A little later than I would normally aim for, but now I can start providing some shelter for my people. These first two plots are based off of my original design, although rewatching the footage, I think I may have made a slight mistake with alignments. I will either relocate some structures or work around the offset. I briefly consider placing the mirrored crop field, but decide that the current population is far too low to sustain its construction. Here I make a small adjustment to the hunter cabin target work area. I include some of the undiscovered territory in this area, which proves to be a benefit, as our hunter eventually reveals more resource nodes. I prioritize the well here, in the hope of providing a water source for the newly built shelters that should soon start popping up in this area. This collection of edible resources to the northeast has caught my eye, and I commit to a second foraging shack. I cut things a little close here, taking far too long to begin construction on more shelters. I want a small gap between the two initial shelters, which are intended to serve as farmhouses, and the rest of this early housing development. I leave a 2-cell gap, which on reflection probably wasn't enough, but sometimes having to get creative because of limitations can produce better results. There is also always the option of relocating and redesigning areas that end up causing problems. I probably should have waited on more progress with other constructions before adding a root cellar. It will be useful in extending the shelf life of our perishable goods though. Also, I am enjoying filling out this produce area, and the fence from the foraging shack fits nicely alongside the fence from the root cellar. Here I am trying to ensure there is enough stone available for my builders. And now our crop field is complete, so I set up a 3-year preparation rotation. I will be checking back from time to time to see how much progress is being made before moving to edible produce. The third shelter is now complete, ensuring my people have roofs over their heads for winter. I display some short-term memory loss here, and begin construction of a second root cellar. I did step away from the game for a period of time, so let's blame it on that. I do eventually realize my error, and cancel the construction. One of the previously hidden hunting nodes finally catches my eye, and so I reposition the target hunting area to take advantage of this. I begin construction of a storehouse, continuing the theme and location of my storage, produce, and service building area. Next, a sawmill, to provide us with planks to build more resource-heavy construction projects. Placing this near the firewood splitter, and under the canopy of our small forest, seems fitting. As we still only have the bare minimum of shelters for our 12 villagers, I begin to prioritize construction of the remaining shelter build sites. I'll finish this video by placing a small graveyard. I don't have a feeling for exactly how and where I want a burial site to be yet, so I go with a 3x3 size plot, away from the rest of my current constructions. Thanks for watching, liking, and subscribing. See you for the next episode of this series soon.